Hello everyone, welcome to the Vishnu IS Academy for the daily news protocol of the analysis of daily newspaper. Today let's see the news articles for the date of 24th March 2022. These are the listed news articles. Our first topic for today is exports cross 400 billion annual target as goods shipments jump. It is a mile mark for India. Note down that point. Exports has met $400 billion annual target. Right now we know that our economy is in a critical condition, right, from the COVID pandemic and crisis, right. We have seen much of economic slowdown and all, but having those conditions also, India could achieve its target $400 billion of exports, right. So this was happened for the first time to India. It is a milestone. It is a great achievement for the Indian economy. If we consider these exports, those are under merchandise, garments, gems, jewelry, engineering products, apparel and petroleum. In all these areas, the exports were hiked. Let's see the reasons behind this. Behind this, there are global price rises in industrial commodities. As there are prices are hiking day by day, our Indian exports are gaining hike prices and gaining importance in the international market. So that's why this factor has impacted the rise of Indian exports. And also resurgent agricultural sector. It also got affected with the COVID-19 crisis. So in recent days, the agricultural sector is reviving slowly. It also showed some positive impact on the Indian economy and also increased share of manufacturing sector. It is very much important to affect the exports. To show some impact on the export regime, these manufacturing sector is very much important. So that is the news for today. Let's move on to the next topic. Global uncertainties, India's growth prospects. Okay, just now we have seen some achievement in the Indian economy, but there are so many and lot of problems in the Indian economy still arriving. So let's study all those problems. If we consider any challenges of India, the GDP and GVA used to be very contracted during the pandemic. During the pandemic, the GDP is the main indicator of the measure. It is like a measure to the national income of a country, right? What is GDP? And GVA, the entire value, the total value of the goods and services of a nation in a year is nothing but the GDP, gross domestic product. And also GVA will also contribute to the national income. So these went till very low prices. At times it reached negative values also. And now if we consider the nominal GDP over the real GDP, right, there is a deflator. You might have known this word, GDP deflator. What is this? The GDP deflator is like an indicator to measure the inflation, thereby measuring the economic growth. So it is nothing but a ratio of nominal GDP deflator. Yeah, let's see GDP deflator. It is nominal GDP over real GDP 100. So, if we consider this ratio, we will get the indicator to measure the inflation. It is also called the IDP. This term is also important. Nothing but implicit price deflator. Implicit price deflator. It is showing much higher reading due to the increased inflation rates. Right? So, the GDP deflator is also the one of the reason for the slower of economy of India. And if we consider the consumption and investment demands, it is very much low. The growth of consumption. Any economy will depend on the consumption and imports and exports. On all these factors, the growth of any economy will depend. So, that is why if we consider the consumptions, the growth of consumption became very low. And domestic demand is very sluggish. It is very slow. Right now, if we consider a news point on this, recently the NSO released India's GDP data, saying that it is again low. It is not reaching, it is still not reaching the higher value. So, as this news arrived on the newspaper, let us know some facts about it. The NSO is the resultant body of NSSO plus CSO. These two bodies were merged in 2019 and formed NSO, the Statistical Office and National Statistical Simplified Office, Sampling Office, right? So, and if we consider few more factors, transport and construction sector is always also very less. It is also contributing to the economy much. The annual growth in 2022 and 23 may not go above 7%. That is very low. Before pandemic, we were almost reached till 10% and double digit growth. But now the estimates are saying that it may not reach even 7%. And also hike in crude prices. If yesterday we have seen this, if prices of crude oil increase, it will increase the prices of goods and services, and further it will affect the inflation, and further too much very higher inflation will affect the economy in a negative way, right? And also if the prices of other imported commodities, if we consider that, the inflation is higher. Okay, and also current account deficit. What is current account deficit? If the value of imports is greater than exports in the balance sheet. Okay, if the values of imports is much higher than the values of exports while we are considering the balance sheet of an economy, that is nothing but called as current account deficit. And it is also showing negative impact, results in increase in CED. Okay, and also if we consider all these points, we are still have to say that our Indian economy is still facing problems. Indian economy is still not able to overcome the economic slowdown occurred as a resultant of the pandemic. So, as a way forward to this, let us study some suggestions. Maximum attention on consumption. If we focus maximum on the consumption area, the market will get active. Consumption means what? The citizens and industrialists and any other parties, any firms will consume the goods and services. That's how the economy and business will get activated. it will finally affect the economic growth. So, the few steps should be taken to increase this consumption growth, and cost of industrial inputs should be considered, right? It should be reduced. Why? Because if industrial goods cost is higher, the new investors or already established investors can't further their business, and it affects the economy. So that's why this cost, if this cost is able to reduced by giving any incentives, any government incentives or any subsidies or any schemes like that, if we are able to reduce the cost of industrial inputs, the investments and industrial business will get hiked. Okay, and also RBI can do some R&D and it can suggest some policy rates, some programs, policies, and also it should raise the policy rates. Then the economy again gets activated if the policy rates are raised reasonably after studying the market analysis. And also outward flow of the US dollar would be beneficial for the economy to grow faster. And also the growth objective should be served by fiscal policy incentives. Earlier we have discussed this. The initiatives should be given by the government. Any fiscal incentives, if we can able to produce any incentives, it will encourage the economy. Okay, like that, with all these steps, we will be going forward and we can achieve the economic growth. Now let's move on to the next topic. Tracking the persistent growth of China. Just now we have seen the economic scenario of India, right? It is achieving some targets in some sectors like in exports, but still it is struggling in some other areas to get economic growth. So now if we study China, it is reasonably showing very much good performance in the economy. Let's see how it happened. We all know that in China itself, the COVID pandemic was started, right? We may think that the China itself has struggled a lot with the pandemic, with the crisis. So it might have taken very much time to revive from that loss, but China has done very nice steps to come over from that crisis. Let's study all those. The global impact of China's economic transformation. Let's see. The global scenario is trade wars, COVID-19 crisis, geopolitical tensions, high tariffs. All other nations, all other global nations are facing all these factors, all these conditions. But even if there are all these factors, the China managed to encourage its economy. China registered increase in its manufacturing sector. It is important. China able to record a huge hike in its manufacturing sector. And also China's economy grew by 8.1% in 2021, aided by growth in industrial production. China, even if it was being suffered from the crisis and in healthcare sector, it didn't stop its manufacturing and it didn't stop its industrial production. So that's how it could able to manage the balance in the all sectors of the economy. Just the health sector was get affected, right? But if we keep that aside and if we focus on all other sectors, the economy would be revived in a very nice way, right? And also GDP of China grew faster than estimated, grew by 2.2% than previous year. All other all other global nations were worried that their economic GDP growth was reduced. But China has shown a great hike in its GDP growth than its previous year, that is 2.2%. And also industrial production was rose and fixed assets. It is important. China has focused on investments of fixed assets. Fixed assets means what? Any assets that would be permanent, although they won't show in the first year, though they won't show any progress or they won't give any profit in the first year, but later on they would result in a great way in coming years. That is the benefit with the fixed assets, investment in the fixed assets. So, that is the good thing China had done, and investments in manufacturing increased and overall retail sales grew. They have focused on retail sales also. The world's biggest exporter, China became the world's biggest exporter. Why? Because its industry is being hiked very much, industrial production is very high, and they are focusing on much manufacturing sector, and they are establishing fixed assets like firms and industries and etc. So, with all these initiatives, it could able to become the biggest exporter in the world. And with profits coming out of it, it could repair the damage occurred in the health sector. You are getting the concept, overall concept here, right? We can suggest some mechanisms or phenomena like this to in our answers while writing any way forward for such questions. Okay. And if we consider concept of dual circulation, China was its prime minister in a speech has told that China focused on dual circulation. What is dual circulation? It is internal combination of internal and external circulation. Internal means domestic cycle of production within the country. Within the country, the production would not be stopped ever. And external process of surplus accumulation means what? The external market would also be focused. The surplus would be maintained always. So, by combining these two steps, it went through dual circulation. So, with that, the two circuits are expected to complement each other. It had cut its dependence on global trade. It is very much important. It had cut its dependence. Why? Because if we dependent in each and everything on the global market, if there occurs any fluctuations in the global market, that will show effect on our own nation or on our own economy. So, that's why it had cut its dependence, over dependence on the global trade. So, this is a very nice mechanism, and also it has pushed industrialization towards advanced manufacturing, not the normal but advanced. We know that from so many years, China is well performed in the manufacturing sector, but we know that China products were not of that much quality. But now China is focusing on the advanced manufacturing to compete with the products of the world nations. So, that's why it could cross that hindrance. So, China is stimulating overall growth by catalyzing industrial sector, and also the increasingly skilled labor. Here, let me tell one point. In India, the main problem we are facing is any skilled labor will migrate from India to other nations where they could get better offers, better employment and better remuneration. But here what China has done is it could attract, it could capture its own highly skilled labor. That means what? China itself could create some platform to provide proper remuneration and proper offers to its skilled labor. So that's why capturing its own human resources, it could able to perform well, right? This is a possible point for India also, right? We can follow this. And also strategic raw material exploration. China is a vast nation. If in its geographical area, if it could explore for raw materials, okay, so it could focus on more on the economy. And also high automation and artificial intelligence. Let me tell you one point here. We may think that the artificial intelligence and automation sector would be suitable for the freshers or youngsters or fresh startups. We may think that only these group of people can learn these technologies, but not the older ones, older established industries. But what China has done is it has focused on this sector as well as the older established industries. Even they also adopted these technologies, artificial intelligence and automation. So what happened with that? The expenses on the labor has reduced, and almost all sectors, all areas of industrial areas, workers could able to focus on the emerging technologies, right? So these are all the good points that China has done to revive its economy. So that's why it has showed 2.2% hike in its GDP than its previous year's economic growth. Okay, we can suggest all these steps while writing any suggestions for questions like, if Indian economy facing problems, what could you suggest, or from what could you learn from the neighboring countries of India? If you get any questions such that, you can answer this. Okay, now let's move on to the next topic. The controversy over the proposed Makadatu water project. It is very much in news in recent days. The Makadatu water project was between the states Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. It is the Kaveri river, right? So the dam was proposed in here, but there are so much of confrontations, political debates on this issue were going on. Let's see what's all happening in this concept. So let's see the basic information of Makadatu. It is the drinking water cum power generation, both purposes, proposed by the Karnataka across the river Kaveri. Okay, let's see the timeline, the historical chronological order behind this Makadatu project. It is initially mooted in the 1948 itself. From then itself, there were some controversies regarding this. To translate its name translates as goats crossing in the language of Karnataka mother tongue, Kannada. Okay. So in 2013, Kaveri Water Disputes Tribunal gave final award final award and allocated the Karnataka government some shares. Okay, in Karnataka to the Karnataka government, this tribunal has given some shares. Then what happened in 2018 is a pre-feasibility study report. Feasibility for what? To construct this dam. A report was submitted in 2018. Then later in 2019, a project report was submitted to the Central Water Commission. So there was so much of happening in this area to come to a conclusion or to whether to construct the dam or not. To decide on that, there were so many committees on that, and there were so many reports on that. If we consider the measurements of this project, it submerges 5,100 hectares of forest area, and it would cost 9,000 crore rupees. Its capacity is of 67.15 TMC if we construct this dam. Okay. So now let's see what is the political confrontation between these two states regarding the Mekedatu power project. Like Karnataka is saying that, we have seen, right, the map, right. Let's see this. It is the state of Karnataka. It is Tamil Nadu. It is here the river is there. There is Biligundlu project was already there, and with some extensions of river here, there is Kabini project. Right now Karnataka is proposing the Mekedatu project right here. You can observe in these maps, the Kabini is here and the Mekedatu is here. So if we consider this map, Karnataka, let's see the stand of Karnataka. Karnataka is saying that the river is in our side only. So it is our part, we can construct in our state. It is saying, Karnataka is arguing that. And also Tamil Nadu is already getting some shares from the Biligundlu and the Kabini. Tamil Nadu is getting water shares from other two projects. Then what is the problem if we construct the Mekedatu here and won't share the waters of this project? That is the arguing point Karnataka is saying. So if we consider the Karnataka share 284.75 TMC feet, Tamil Nadu share from Biligundlu is 177.75 TMC, and from Kabini naturally water flows 80 TMCs of water flows. Right? Now comes the important point. It is the stand of Karnataka, right? Now Tamil Nadu is saying that Karnataka is already well infrastructured state. It is on the geographically on the upper level, so that it can get very much higher waters. We need some such surplus waters, a share of surplus waters, that is enough for us. And also let me tell you one background point of this. Karnataka wants this Mekedatu project to fulfill the drinking water needs of the Bengaluru. Okay, that is their Karnataka's issue. Their point is that they want to fulfill the drinking water needs of Bengaluru with this project. So now Tamil Nadu is saying that Karnataka and Bengaluru are the very well developed and very well infrastructurally developed places. So why do they need another project? That is the arguing point of Tamil Nadu. And also it is referring some Supreme Court and tribunals awards. So Supreme Court also didn't mention, no mention. It not mentioned anything about that project, the Mekedatu project, and also no tribunal had given any clarity, any mention on that project. And now Tamil Nadu is in a position requiring the water. So all these are the arguing points of Tamil Nadu. Both sides looking genuinely right. So that's why the issue is going on. We need to find some solution to this. And here some question arises that, okay, all these shares are going to both states, but there will be some surplus waters, right? Where are they going? Which state should get those surplus waters, Karnataka or Tamil Nadu? So these points should be addressed with the tribunal decisions or Supreme Court. That is the main confrontation between the two states. So Kaveri Water Management Authority is also looking for possible solutions to this. Okay. Now let's move on to the next topic. The Artemis Program, NASA's new moon mission. New moon mission, NASA has announced one new moon mission. It has tested, yesterday it has tested in its launch pad, that is in Florida. Okay. Okay. So now let's study about the Artemis Program. What is it? It is named as Artemis 1. It is a moon mission. It is tested at Kennedy Space Center, Florida. The space launch system. It was tested from the Space Launch System, rocket and Orion capsule. Okay, right. And with the launching vehicle, crawler transport to vehicle. These are all facts. You might have used in any answers, or you may get in any prelims question also. Now, if we study the objective is important. If we study the objective of Artemis, next generation lunar exploration would be conducted with the Artemis 1 moon mission. Okay, the next generation lunar explorations, and also it is named after the twin sister of Apollo and Greek mythology, and also it means goddess of the moon. So that's why it is named as Artemis 1. These are some facts regarding this. So it is the first of NASA's. This is important. It is the first of NASA's deep space exploration systems. Deep space explorations. So if NASA could succeed in this program, it will be helpful for the further experiments to send astronauts to the Mars. So that's how the Artemis 1 plays a crucial role to further conduct further experiments on the deep space areas. It is an uncrewed space mission. It is also important. It is uncrewed. Okay. And also it uses the most powerful rocket, like we have discussed earlier, the SLC. Okay. These are all the points we need to study about the Artemis 1. Now let's move on to the next topic. The nutrition fallout of school closures. It is regarding the MDM, midday meal scheme. What is the midday meal scheme? In pandemic and lockdown times, the midday meal scheme was temporarily stopped. Now the authorities were searching ways to re-implement this scheme all over the India. So according to the midday meal scheme guidelines 2006, it has told that the nutrition was fallout because of the school closures. Okay, it is a midday meal in India. It should provide 45 kilocalories of energy, minimum of 12 grams of proteins. It is the basic criteria behind the midday meals. So these figures are important. Whatever the food we provide to the school children, that should compensate these energy levels, 450 kilocalories of energy and 12 grams of protein. And also adequate quantities of micronutrients. Micronutrients are very much important for the growth of children. and their brain growth and activity. Okay, so these micronutrients like iron, folic acid, vitamin A should be provided along with the midday meal scheme. And also, as many children reach school on empty stomach, the school's midday meal is a major source of nutrition for children, right? So, in the wake of the pandemic, the government has announced to provide hot cooked rice. Earlier, I have told, right, the midday meal scheme was temporarily stopped because of the pandemic. Now, while re-implementing the scheme, the government is saying to provide hot cooked midday meal and provide to all eligible school going children. It is the new criteria, new guidelines provided. And also, one way to implement this would be to involve local smallholder farmers. With the years of experience, there occurs some problems providing midday meals continuously all over the year. In some places, there would be lack of some food grains, there would be some lack of some cooks and all, there would be some lack of facilities to store those groceries and food items. So, to fulfill all these, if we can call these smallholder farmers, the local farmers, if we can tie up with them, we can fulfill the needs of food grains of this scheme. Okay. So, on the backdrop of this, let us know some background points of midday meals. It was launched in 1995 as NPNSPE. NPNSPE, National Program of Nutritional Support to Primary Education. Later on, it was renamed as MDMS, Midday Meal Scheme. But recently, there is a recent current affairs on this that it was renamed again as PM Poshan Shakti Nirman Scheme for the period to 2021 to 2025. Right? Now, let us move on to the next topic, that few villages received waste disposal infrastructure panel. Panel told that. What is it all about? If we consider the management, liquid waste management of villages under the Swachh Bharat Mission Phase 2 scheme. If we consider that, the report is saying that only 12% of the villages that were supposed to get infrastructure for liquid waste were covered under the Phase 2 of Swachh Bharat Mission. That is the news line for today. So, if we consider the scheme of Swachh Bharat Mission, what is the scheme? It is launched by Government of India. Its objective is to eliminate the open defecation and also waste management, so solid waste management. There was phase 1 in the time period 2014 to 2019, and also there is phase 2 recently inaugurated in 2020 and it works till 2025. The phase 1 specifically covers the sanitation in rural areas. If we can consider the objective of phase 1, it covers the rural sanitation and also the solid waste management. But if we consider the phase 2 of Swachh Bharat Mission, the objectives are further furnished. If we can see that the sustained open defecation free, it is very much important. Why? Because under the Swachh Bharat Mission phase 1, we focused on the ODF, open defecation free villages. Okay, we have conducted campaigns and we have conducted some washrooms and we have given some incentives. The work is done and we came back. But what is the sustainability of those programs conducted earlier? So to achieve that sustainability, the phase 2 is focusing on to sustain the open defecation free. Why? Because the attitude of the villagers have to change to use all these things to make their village open defecation free places. Okay. So that is the objective of phase 2 of Swachh Bharat mission. ODF plus means sustained ODF behavior and solid and liquid both. Liquid waste management is also included in the phase 2 of Swachh Bharat mission. And the funding for this scheme is 90:10 between the center and the states. It is also important for you prelims perspective. Okay. If we see some key areas of SBM2, there occurs plastic waste management, biodegradable solid waste management and grey water. Here comes the liquid waste management and fecal sludge management. All these areas need to be covered under the SBM to achieve the complete entire holistic sanitation of our villages and our places, right? Now let's move on to some facts of the day, prelims facts of the day. There is one person called Sullivan who is the American mathematician. He got some Abel Prize. Abel Prize. It is given to the expertise people in the sector mathematics. It is given by the Norwegian Academy of Science and Letters. That is one of the fact. And if we see another fact, recently Supreme Court has announced that to give rights to the states to impose tax on lotteries conducted by the other state. Okay, here one state is imposing and the betting game is conducted by another state. Okay, so this guideline was recently given by the Supreme Court. It is also one of the facts for today. If we, in this backdrop, if we consider the meaning of lotteries, it is a species of gambling activity and the betting and gambling. And this part is, betting and gambling name is under the state list. These are the basic facts. It is in the 7th schedule of the Constitution. Right? These are all the news articles for today to cover. Let's meet tomorrow and let's discuss few more interesting points on the news articles and tomorrow. Have a nice day. Thank you.